Okay.
And one school alone, Kayaba, has 6 pregnant teenagers. One primary school has 6 girls who are pregnant. The other schools I don't know, because some of the head teachers will tell you they've no one. But they may have, but they haven't checked
What's the
properly.
age of the pregnant girls?
I'd say they're from 13 to 15. Now, two of the pregnant girls, one from primary, one from secondary, last week we had to bring them to a home because their mothers had chased them away, telling them to go to the owner of the baby. But the owner of the baby was a young man without job, without any care.
You took them to which home?
We took these two to Nest. Actually, it's very hard. In the olden days, Jama used to have a home, and Good Shepherds used to have a home, and they used to take it. But now they stopped running those homes,
Okay.
so it has left us in this area with a very big need. And according to the government, they're supposed to be maintained in school. But if they don't have accommodation with the mother, then you have to take them to a home. And now they're not in school because they're gone to that home.
Yeah.
So the home may make arrangements, but one of them she may be registered for her standard 8. She'll have to come back and do her exam.
Okay.
The other one is in Form 2.
Okay. So maybe you can also tell us about the schools, how they started, and your reason to start the schools.
Yeah, I started the schools because I was in Our Lady of Mercy as head teacher.
When was that?
I was there from 1976, long time before you were born. I was there from 1976 until 1989 as head teacher. So in the 80s, when these Mukuru slums were growing up, I was the head teacher in Our Lady of Mercy. Then I was seeing these gangs of children on the streets. Then I felt very badly.
Where is Our Lady of Mercy?
It's South Bean, near Our Lady Queen of Peace Catholic Church. So when I was seeing, I used to live in Mater. I used to walk to the school, and when I was coming to school, I could see these gangs of street children. And those gangs of street children, even the new children coming to Our Lady of Mercy on Nairobi South and Plainsview, those street children could steal their uniform and their new school bag from the children. So the children were coming crying to school that these street children had taken their sweater, had, sometimes even taken them down to their underclothes, taking their new school bag and their new shoes and their new socks. Maybe 14 street boys would surround them and rob them. So I went to my superior. When my superior came to visit in 1984, I told her we have a very big problem in this area of wild children who are not in school.
Okay.
And I said to her, what can we do about it? And she said, you look into the matter. And I told her I've already taken some of these children from slums into Our Lady of Mercy, but because they were older, and because they had skin diseases like scabies and ringworm, and because they had other worms like tapeworm, which they were passing to the other children, the parents weren't happy in Our Lady of Mercy.
But the parents at least.
So-
And then it was very hard to maintain those children with a middle class standard, because the children of Our Lady of Mercy were mostly the children of civil servants living around South Bean, who were buying their own houses, So now they found it hard to have all these wild children admitted in the school. These children didn't have proper socks. You had to supply them with uniform, you had to supply them with the socks. You had to try and maintain them at a middle class standard. And in that school, children bought their own books. Now you had to buy books for these children. When you bought the books for them, the books were lost very easily.
Do you ever try to connect them with their parents? Or do their
Their
parents
were-
once
their-
come around searching for them?
Yeah, their parents were there, but the parents couldn't afford the school fees to take them to school. Now after COVID, many parents now are short of money. Head teachers want to chase the kids away. But you take a mother who's a single mother and she's been working as a maid, then she lost her job because now the people with the house are afraid to bring a maid from the slums into their house and bring them COVID. So now that mother has no money. She's begging for food, she's begging for everything. So the lack of jobs in this area is very high. partly because of COVID when things closed down, and partly because of the jam here. The companies that were leasing companies here in this area, because of the, I don't know what's wrong, there's a mystery. At Enterprise Road and Laconia Road there's always a jam. Even during COVID when everything was closed down, there was still a jam. It's a mystery that I don't understand. They've even built an overhead bridge, and if you go there now, there's still a jam. How do you explain that mystery? I don't know.
So how many children are you taking care of?
We have 6,000 children in 4 primary schools, more than 6,000 in 4 primary schools. Then we have 400 children here in secondary. We have 200 in vocational training, training for jobs after either primary or secondary. Then we have 70 boys in rehabilitation. Children who've come from the streets, they're too wild to join class. They need to be tamed down, and actually Qual have been helping them.
Okay.
And then we have
How many teachers?
And then we have 87 children who are handicapped on our Oka Road, children living with handicaps. Now these 87, they're increasing and increasing and increasing. They're children who are handicapped, who are unable to go to normal schools because of their handicaps. So you're saying how many teachers? The government are supplying most of the teachers for the primary schools. We supplement by supplying a few teachers. We supply the secretary, the cleaner, the cook, because the government doesn't pay for these people. And then we supply the security, because the counties stopped supplying security to primary schools.
So in total, how many employees are those?
I have 140 employees, but we're also helped by the government, who have brought in teachers. I couldn't know how many they are altogether.
So who funds all these?
The government fund a certain number of teachers. And who funds the rest of it? Now, one Kenyan called Pankaj, Team Pankaj, at the moment they're feeding almost 7,000 kids. Before that, the World Food Programme used to feed them. And from the 90s up until 2018 June, the World Food Programme was feeding the kids of the slums through the Ministry of Education.
Okay.
But in 2018, Dr. Matiangi said Kenyans are not beggars. They don't need the World Food Programme to feed their children. Kenyans are very able to feed their own children, and the government of Kenya is very able to feed its own children. Then they stopped the World Food Programme in June 2018, and I think they asked them to bring the funds to vocational training. And from then, the slum children were left without food to the government. Us, we struggled to beg people for food. So we begged various Kenyans, and a number of Kenyans responded. Some Kenyans bring cabbages from their shamba. They bring here to feed our children. Other Kenyans bring